My beloved sisters, we live in a time where softness and compassion are beautiful qualities, but only when balanced with strength, self-respect, and wisdom. Many women today confuse being kind with being weak and being nurturing with being naive. Islam does not ask you to be walked over. Islam teaches you dignity, clarity, and inner strength. It is time to stop being a soft woman who tolerates harm, disrespects herself, and allows others to define her worth. You were not created weak. You were created with immense power, especially emotional strength. But that power should not be buried beneath people-pleasing or fear of confrontation. Too many of our sisters are enduring toxic relationships, emotional manipulation, and unfair treatment, not because they are weak, but because they have forgotten how strong they were meant to be. Being soft doesn't mean tolerating abuse. It doesn't mean lowering your standards just to be accepted. It doesn't mean saying yes when your heart is screaming no. Some of you are burning inside with pain because you're too afraid to speak up. That's not sabr, that's silent suffering, and your Lord does not require that from you. Remember, the women around the Prophet were not weak. They were not soft in a way that let people break them. Khadija Ra was strong in her support. Aisha Ra was sharp and intelligent. Fatima Ra was graceful yet firm. They were spiritual but also sensible. They were loving but not gullible. You are meant to follow that legacy. Stop thinking you need to be liked by everyone. Your goal is not to win hearts that disrespect yours. It is to live with dignity, to make decisions that please Allah, and to know your boundaries. Being merciful doesn't mean you let someone trample on your self-respect. Forgiveness is powerful, but so is walking away from what harms your soul. When you keep letting people mistreat you, you teach them that it's okay. You must draw the line. Say enough is enough. Learn to say no with calm confidence. You're not here to fix broken people at the cost of your own peace. You're not here to prove your worth by sacrificing your mental health. Stop being the woman who carries everyone else's burdens while neglecting her own pain. The world needs women who are firm yet kind, honest yet respectful, strong yet soft in the right way. Being soft should be your strength, not your weakness. Let your kindness be guided by wisdom. Let your love be protected by self-respect. And let your silence be a choice, not a result of fear or guilt. There is nothing wrong with being gentle, but gentleness becomes destructive when it enables wrongdoing. Learn to be the woman who knows when to speak up, when to walk away, and when to stand firm. Strength doesn't mean arrogance. It means knowing when to say no more with grace. You are not here to be a doormat. You are not here to keep sacrificing your happiness for people who don't value it. Stop being the soft woman who suffers in silence. Start being the strong believer who stands with honor, speaks with courage, and lives with the confidence that her Lord has her back. Your kindness should be wrapped in wisdom, not weakness. Being kind is one of the most beautiful traits you can have. Islam encourages gentleness, compassion, and mercy. The Prophet was described as a mercy to the worlds. But you must understand, there is a difference between being kind and being naive. There is a difference between having a soft heart and having a weak spine. True kindness is never blind. True kindness doesn't mean you allow people to step on you while you smile and remain silent. That's not what your faith teaches you. When your kindness is not protected by wisdom, it becomes a tool for others to use against you. Some people will take your gentleness as an invitation to manipulate you. They will interpret your silence as approval and your patience as weakness. This is why kindness must be balanced with awareness. Be kind, but don't be fooled. Be gentle, but don't become someone who allows their own heart to break while trying to please others. There are people who will keep taking from you as long as you keep giving, not because they need your help, but because they've seen that you don't know how to say no. And that's not kindness, that's a lack of boundaries. Allah does not ask you to hurt yourself for the comfort of others. He asks you to uphold justice, and that includes justice for your own soul. Many sisters suffer in silence thinking they are doing the noble thing. They keep forgiving abuse, accepting disrespect, and sacrificing their peace. They believe this is a form of sabr, of pleasing Allah. But the truth is, when you allow wrongdoing to continue unchecked, you're not helping anyone, not even the one who wrongs you. You're enabling harm. And enabling harm is not a virtue in our religion. Being wise means you can still smile, but you also recognize who deserves your energy. Being wise means you speak kindly, but you know when to walk away. It means you forgive, but you don't forget the lesson. You don't keep touching fire just because you believe in mercy. Allah is the most merciful, but even He warns us repeatedly about punishment and consequences. There is balance in everything. Learn to pause before giving Think before offering your heart and time to someone. Ask yourself, is this helping my akhirah or harming my peace? Is this person drawing me closer to Allah or pulling me into emotional exhaustion? Not everyone deserves access to your softness. Some people need distance from you to realize their own mistakes. And that distance, that decision can be one of the kindest things you do for them and for yourself. You are not being cruel when you draw boundaries. You are not being arrogant when you protect your heart. This is self-respect. This is wisdom. And wisdom is part of your faith. Your kindness should come from a place of strength, not fear. Don't be kind because you are afraid to upset someone. Be kind because you know it pleases Allah, and walk away when your kindness is no longer appreciated. You are not here to please people. You are here to please your Creator. If being kind to someone repeatedly causes you pain, take a step back. You are not obligated to carry emotional burdens just to be seen as a good person. The best people in the eyes of Allah are those who live with sincerity, not those who allow themselves to be hurt just to look righteous. Be kind, but be firm. Be gentle, but be clear. Be loving, but be smart. Your softness is a gift, but it needs the protection of wisdom. Don't waste your love on those who don't value it. Don't pour from your cup until it's empty and you're left dry. Your Lord sees every act of compassion, every quiet tear, every time you chose peace over proving your point. That's the kindness that matters, the one rooted in strength, in taqwa, in awareness of your worth in the eyes of Allah. So my dear sister, don't stop being kind, but start being wise. Speak with mercy, act with dignity, and live with clarity. That's the kind of woman Islam teaches you to be. Not soft in a way that breaks you, but soft in a way that inspires strength in others. Not weak in the name of love, but strong in the pursuit of truth. Let your kindness be your strength, not your downfall. Let it reflect your connection with Allah, not your need for validation from people. And always remember, your value was never meant to be measured by how much you tolerate. It is measured by how much you turn back to Allah, protect your heart, and walk in truth, even when it's hard. Being silent in the face of injustice is not patience, it's self-neglect. There is a misconception among many people, especially among our sisters, that remaining silent while being mistreated is a form of piety. That turning the other cheek in every situation makes you righteous. That tolerating injustice and abuse without saying a word is somehow a higher form of sabr. But this idea is not supported by the teachings of our faith. Islam teaches justice. Islam promotes dignity. And Islam never asks you to suffer in silence while your soul is being wounded. Patience is a beautiful trait, yes. But patience does not mean passiveness. It does not mean allowing others to oppress you. It does not mean closing your eyes to wrongs being done against you or others. Real patience is active. It involves trusting Allah while also doing your part to protect your dignity and speak the truth. If someone is harming you, mistreating you, or crossing boundaries, staying quiet about it is not virtuous, it is harmful. Some people confuse endurance with patience. They keep tolerating abusive behavior from family members, spouses, or even so-called friends, thinking that they are being rewarded by Allah for staying quiet. But ask yourself, is Allah pleased with injustice? Would the Prophet remain silent if someone's rights were being violated? Absolutely not. He stood up for the weak. He spoke up for the oppressed. He encouraged people to challenge tyranny with wisdom and courage. If someone is taking away your peace, silencing you, or causing you pain, and you continue to stay silent out of fear or shame, then that is not sabr, it is a form of self-betrayal. You are neglecting your own soul. You are telling yourself that your voice does not matter, that your pain is not important, and that the one hurting you has more rights than you. This is not what Islam teaches. You have a right to be treated with respect. You have a right to be heard. You have a right to set limits on how others treat you. Speaking up does not make you disobedient. Walking away from harm does not make you arrogant. Standing up for yourself does not make you rebellious. These are acts of courage, and courage is part of faith. Shaitan wants you to stay silent when you are wronged. He wants you to believe that your voice doesn't matter, that your only choice is to endure the pain. But your Lord tells you to stand for justice, even if it is against yourself or those you love. He commands fairness, compassion, and dignity. So if someone is oppressing you, breaking your spirit, or controlling you with guilt and manipulation, silence is not the solution. That silence will eat away at your confidence, your peace, and your relationship with Allah. When you remain silent in the face of injustice, you not only allow the oppressor to continue, you also allow your own value to be diminished. And over time, that silence becomes heavy. It becomes sadness. It becomes resentment. It becomes numbness. You start to forget what happiness feels like. You forget who you are. And the one who created you never wanted that for you. You are not weak for speaking up. You're not wrong for choosing yourself. Your voice has value. Your boundaries matter. Your feelings are not a burden. They are signs that something is wrong, and ignoring those signs doesn't make you strong. It makes you suffer quietly in a prison of your own making. Some of the most beloved women in Islamic history were strong in their speech. They voiced their concerns. They sought justice. They stood beside the Prophet with conviction, not fear. That's the example you should follow. Not the example of silence, but the example of strength wrapped in faith. So if you are facing injustice, speak up. If someone is hurting you, draw a boundary. If you're being mistreated, ask for help. Do it with wisdom. Do it with calm. Do it with reliance on Allah. But don't stay silent. Because silence in the wrong place is not patience, it's self-neglect. And you, my sister, were never meant to neglect yourself. You were created with honor, given rights by your Creator, and placed on this earth to live with dignity. Don't give that up for anyone. Use your voice, protect your peace, stand for what's right, and trust that Allah will always support those who stand for truth with sincerity. Islam uplifts women through strength, self-respect, and clarity, not people-pleasing. One of the most beautiful truths about Islam is how it honors and uplifts women, not by demanding they shrink themselves to please others, but by giving them a clear sense of purpose, dignity, and strength. The woman in Islam is not defined by how much she sacrifices for the sake of people. She is defined by how much she submits to her Creator. Her value is not based on how agreeable she is, how much she tolerates, or how well she fits into someone else's expectations. Her value is rooted in her taqwa, her inner strength, and her clarity about who she is and what she stands for. Too many women today have been made to believe that their job is to make everyone around them happy, even at the cost of their own well-being. They are taught that being a good woman means being silent, saying yes to everything, never having boundaries, and carrying everyone's burdens without complaint. But this is not what Islam teaches. Islam does not call you to please people. It calls you to please Allah. And in pleasing Allah, you find your highest honor and your deepest peace. Look at the lives of the righteous women in our history. Were they weak? Were they people pleasers? Absolutely not. They were women of conviction. Women who understood their worth. Women who said yes when it was right and no when it was wrong. They didn't try to gain everyone's approval. They tried to gain the approval of their Lord. That is what gave them strength. That is what made them leaders, mothers, scholars, and supporters of truth. The Prophet elevated women by teaching them their rights. He listened to them. He respected their opinions. He accepted their counsel. He reminded the Ummah again and again that women are not to be silenced or dismissed, that their worth is not measured by how well they can disappear into the background, but by how well they fulfill their role with honesty, modesty, and faith. Some sisters have been trapped in a cycle of emotional exhaustion, constantly overextending themselves, constantly trying to avoid conflict, constantly trying to keep others happy even when their own hearts are breaking. That is not what Allah wants for you. You are not meant to be a people pleaser. You are meant to be a believer. And believers know that human approval is temporary, but the pleasure of Allah is eternal. Being kind and respectful does not mean becoming a doormat. Being loving does not mean accepting abuse. Being supportive does not mean saying yes to everything. Islam teaches balance. You are allowed to speak up. You are allowed to protect your